Hey, Thrive Loud fans. Wanted to share information about an upcoming event which is being held next week on October 23rd through the 24th in New York City. It's a conference called Inclusion by Design. Inclusion by Design will provide a platform for women 50 and over, business leaders, and anyone else who is passionate about inclusive workplaces to meet, learn new skills, form relationships, and brainstorm strategies and solutions for collaboratively building the future. This collaboration is a hallmark for the work being done by Amazing Community, a non-profit organization whose mission is to expand the work horizon for women over 50 and a valuable opportunity to help us impact more older women and organizations. Former Thrive Loud guest Fanny Cravoy will be on the panel along with many other amazing thought leaders. Register at www.inclusionbydesign.org. Don't delay, claim your spot today and be part of the conversation to build an inclusive workplace by design.
Have you been boring yourself with uninteresting podcasts made by monotone and overly serious people? Are you tired of hearing the same stuff every day on NPR? Then please consider helping us on our mission of making Thrive Loud the #1 business podcast. Because, well, let's be honest, we're #1.
Today on Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
And we teach our clients about the concept of being of service as a marketing tactic. And it's quite funny because a lot of people have a really hard time figuring out what that means. And to me, it just makes so much sense. Friends buy from friends. And when you have friends, you can make sales. I would say 80 to 90% of my sales come from within my network and with people that I have gotten to know and referrals.
You don't need to play it safe.
This was spectacular.
I mean, I'm going to be really honest, so I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, that's what we want.
And there will be bumps in the road. There will be twists and turns.
You needed moxie on the floor and volume.
It's the results and the connections and the improvement, the impact we have on other people's life. And that's when life becomes exciting.
Who do you turn to personally to get back on the thriving track?
I was really interested in how the world works.
Thanks for the great introduction.
It was really very simple. I just read part of your bio. Be brief, be bright, be gone.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a Swiss-Canadian powerhouse. That is a first for Thrive Loud. She is on speed dial of founders and executives at innovative startups, small businesses, and corporate entities. When it's time to grow, she swoops in to design custom growth strategies that reach the company's goals incredibly fast. She loves to fly planes. She enjoys kiteboarding and mountain biking. And she's a roller derby player. Oh my God, this interview is going to be amazing. This no-nonsense adrenaline junkie is here to Thrive Loud today. Thrive Loud listeners, Stephanie Hayes. Stephanie, how are you today?
Oh, I'm great. How are you?
Spectacular. Awesome. So I get connected to a lot of amazing people. And I know that while you have all these really fun hobbies, you actually have something that hits right in the sweet spot, which is this ability to work with incredible leaders and help make them better and help them target and market better. So what I would love to hear, but I know our listeners would love to hear more from you, is a little how you got into the world that you're into, and then we'll make the conversation flow from there. Sound good?
That sounds great.
Ball's in your court.
Okay, thank you. I like to think that I was an entrepreneur, sort of born and bred, and came out of the womb ready to start my first business, which I did when I was 12. I started a business as a clown for kids' parties. And the irony is that I absolutely hate clowns.
Clowns are scary. Clowns are scary.
There's nothing logical about them. And so, when I started my career, I started right off in the high-tech sector in a small startup. And the experience being in a startup, in a technology startup, was just, it set the stage for the rest of my career. And when you work in startups and small businesses, you get the opportunity to do kind of everything, right?
Yeah.
I was in sales, I was in marketing, I was in project management, I did design work, I did some development work. When I got assigned a region to support, there were no clients yet, so I just had to go and sell them. So you really cut your teeth and you get this experience that carries you through the rest of your career. So I've been working in small businesses and startups and building my own for 23 years. And when I started getting asked by friends and colleagues to help them with their businesses, I realized that what I really wanted to do was coaching. And having started my first business about 15 years ago and learning very, very quickly what works and what doesn't, that set the foundation for my addiction to entrepreneurship. So in that amount of time, I have started up 5 businesses. 4 are still functional. One of them I gave back to my business partner, and yeah, I'm going now. Got the opportunity to work in the university as an entrepreneur mentor for their entrepreneurship program. So taking startups from their inception all the way through to operational and functional and ready to be consumed by the seed fund. And it was a great way to sort of formalize the approach to growth and to transformation. And in the corporate world, much of my work has been in transformation and strategy, but from a technology perspective. So here I am now working with micro businesses, small businesses, solo entrepreneurs who are at the level now where they've kind of grown by sheer will, and that they have something core that really works for their target customers, but they've reached the end of their comfort with their business skills and are just looking for some help to figure out where they go from here. And they're all ambitious and they're all hardworking, and they've got vision, and it's the most rewarding, amazing, fun, and totally aligned work that I'm doing, and I'm just so thankful for it.
I love that you said you have this addiction to the startup and the entrepreneurial world. It is interesting because once you've had a taste of it, not using any type of addiction analogy here, but that's kind of what it is. It's such an inspiring thing to see people working in so many different ways and really stretching into doing stuff that makes them experts almost the second time they do anything. Yeah. I want to tap into something that I know is unique about the work that you do from previous conversations you and I have had. And that is the way that you look at a business design, or more notably, the business design framework you help establish. Can you share with the Thrive Loud listeners this unique approach, which is a little bit different from the way most people will look at a business strategy?
Oh, could I ever? My mission is to turn business design on its head. So I have a master's in business administration, and I learned entrepreneurship and technology entrepreneurship within a formal education setting. And in business school, you are taught to look at a business from the old world, the old school perspective, where everything starts with a customer. And what ends up happening is that out in the online world and in the small business world, any of the sort of business education that you consume in the articles and the literature tells you to start there. And while your customer is extremely important to your business, it's not always the best place for everyone to start. So the example that I like to give, because nobody can relate to this or personalize it, is that let's say you have a vision, and everybody is kind of clear on what their vision is, but they don't go any further than that. But let's say your vision is that every baby goat has pajamas, okay? Because baby goats need pajamas.
But of course they do.
Right. And I know so many people can relate to this as their vision. And so what would be the typical business that you might design? Most people
for the fact manufacturing the pajamas themselves.
Right. Well, what if you're allergic to wool? Or what if you don't like sewing? Or what if you have hands that don't work? You're going to continue to build this business because you think it's the only way to deliver on that vision. But what if you were a lobbyist who passed legislation for all baby goats to have pajamas? Or what if you were the delivery truck driver that delivered the pajamas? Or what if you were a pajama-friendly farmer? Or what if you started a movie? All of these different business model designs deliver on that vision, but are aligned with the way that you actually want to work. So the challenge is that people don't design the business based on their own passion. They design businesses based on what they think they're supposed to do. So when we take the framework that I've created, what I identified from working with so many of these entrepreneurs is that some people actually start from a different pillar. The customer is absolutely a legitimate pillar to start from if that is where you want to go. I remember working with a client who was like, I want to be a photographer. I tried photography. I wanted to be a relationship coach because I had some stuff in my past and maybe I could help people, but none of these really fit. And just in talking to her, she just lit up and started talking about these customers that she had worked with that were these ultra sort of woo shaman type, that the real spiritual people. She said, if I could just work with those guys, then I don't care what I do. I want to work with them. And it kind of dawned on me that there are these 4 pillars that you can start from in your business design process. And the one that is most important to you, because there's always one, is where you should start. So she starts with the customer and she works out in the very traditional sort of business design framework where she figures out what they need and so on and so forth. But the key is that she's working with them, and that's what has to be true for all the work that she does. However, I have worked with clients where what they really, really like is this thing that they've created, this service or this product, and they don't mind so much who they're selling it to, and they don't mind so much how they're delivering it, or they don't mind so much any of the other pillars, but they really, really, really just want to deliver this product. So in that regard, we work backwards and we start with the product because we know that that's what needs to be true in everything that they're doing. And then we work out from there, and we'll figure out who the customer is. We'll figure out how they're going to deliver it and all that sort of thing.
I like that. So you take the focus of what's most important to your clients and use that as the main pillar to structure it, as opposed to a regular proven or a traditional way of doing things. You always look at what's most important to them.
Yeah, and because they'll end up in misalignment. I mean, they might also have the pillar of their skills and experience. I'm a human rights lawyer. And though I don't want to work in the traditional law firm environment, I really want to use those skills. And I don't mind so much who I'm doing it for or how I'm delivering it, but those are the skills that I have to be using. Sometimes people identify with skills that are like, I'm a connector, or I want to use my problem solving skills. I know that those are the most important. Then that final pillar is the way that we work. And this is my pillar. I know that I don't want to work in a way where I have project deliverables, where I have schedules. I'm an advisor. I'm a strategist. I like to think and I like to talk and I like to move things around. And so if I had to, I know this to be true because if I had to do any work that required me to work in a way that's contrary to that, I actually wouldn't do it. I don't mind. So I have preferences in each of my pillars. I don't mind so much who I'm working with. I kind of know who my best customer is. I have flexibility in the services I deliver. I'm not super aligned with one particular skill set, but I know that I would compromise everything else if it meant that I couldn't work in the way that I want to work. So wherever my client fits in those sort of 4 pillars, then we start from there and we make sure that everything in their business model is aligned.
I like it. So I was going to ask you a question. What if you have a situation with a client where they're almost indifferent between 2 specific pillars?
They never are.
They never. Okay.
I run tests against them.
Okay.
And we usually figure it out. And if they are keeping themselves from committing, then they have some fear or they have some mindset issues we need to work through. But just listening to them talk and listening to the way that they answer the questions every single time, I can find that pillar. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't have preferences in the other business design pillars, but it means that one of them remains the key pillar that needs to be true. And then all of a sudden, these people are walking away from these businesses that just didn't feel right. And that when you don't feel right in your business, you don't put the effort and the energy, and everything feels like kind of a drag, right? And once they're lit up about the way that they are now going to work, man, they're on fire and they just start getting things done.
It's really interesting. I remembered hearing the story of, this is a professor at a business school who was is a serial entrepreneur. The man has started so many companies, it's ridiculous. And a lot of people wanted to really understand, because a couple of those companies became incredibly successful organizations. Why didn't his career evolutionary path lead him more consistently just into that? But to your point, it was the starting the businesses was that the business that he wanted to be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the minute that you recognize what that strength is and how important that is from a timing perspective and a focus perspective, it also will help you be incredible in helping to get that process achieved quicker. So I totally get it. Yeah.
You would not believe the energy shift. And literally this happens in 15 to 20 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. I have had so many of these half-hour kind of discovery calls, and we fully redesign their business in within half an hour, and they just leave there going, holy smokes, the world has shifted, right? The energy shift is incredible. And and I think part of it is that we're not given permission in the media and in all of the new sort of business literature to actually think our business can be exactly what we want it to be. And once they get that permission, once they realize there's a way, and once they've eked it out, I mean, a lot of people just don't even know how to articulate what that is. But once they've eked it out, they're just like, you can have whatever you want. You really can. And your commitment to that vision or your commitment to that model is going to determine how well you execute. But there is a way to get whatever it is that you want.
I like it, Stephanie. I want to ask this question as it relates to your own business, because you've obviously figured out what you're really good at and where you could step in and do this custom design growth strategies for a lot of these companies. And like myself and many others on this show, I have a high referral rate for the work that I do. And that seems to be where most of the business that that comes to me or that I work with comes from. Talk to our listeners a little bit about something that you call sniper marketing.
I don't know why marketing references have to be so violent, but we've had guerrilla marketing, we had sniper marketing. I actually know
the reason to that. I know that if you really want to interrupt
here.
Because a lot of traditional other areas such as sales or technology or operations have always felt, well, marketing's kind of a soft skill. So to toughen them up, they put these much harder words in front of them.
Well, I don't know. I come from the technology world okay, sniper marketing. I coach in a program where we teach. It's not my program, but it's run by an amazing lady, and we teach our clients about the concept of being of service as a marketing tactic. And it's quite funny because a lot of people have a really hard time figuring out what that means. And to me, it just makes so much sense. Friends buy from friends, and when you have friends, you can make sales. I would say 80 to 90% of my sales come from within my network and with people that I have gotten to know and referrals and sniper marketing is about getting away from this concept of, typical digital marketing where you're push out to as many people as you can and turning around and just creating relationships. So I will find the people by observing them online that I want to become my clients. And I will put effort into starting to create relationships with them and engaging with them and being part of their communities. And if I am helpful and I am serving that community and I am offering everything that I can in a way that's aligned with what I know they're after, then I will turn them into a client. Mm-hmm. And that is sniper marketing, right? It is getting away from this concept that we have to push. Now, that's appropriate for certain business models, but the people that I work with tend to be service-based entrepreneurs who are serving customers in a higher end program or one-to-one or, small groups. And for them, it's an ideal strategy, yet it seems so difficult for them to grasp because it seems like we like to make things hard, right? We think that it's only valuable if it's difficult. And to them, it seems too easy. And so they're constantly looking for the catch. Where's the formula? Where's the framework? Where's the 5 steps I have to follow? And I'm like, just go and be at a party. Just go and sit and make friends and show your stuff and be helpful. And it's brilliant. It's a brilliant marketing strategy because it just works. So when you can build that trust relationship very quickly, you build a referral network, you build a community of people who know you. And it's like, how many different ways can you do that by just making friends with people? To paraphrase a very popular guest here on Thrive Loud and a good friend of mine, Phil M. Jones,
ask really great questions that lead to conversations that establish relationships, that build friendships with the people you do business with. And it is a very true thing. It's a true way of connecting, something you and I can see eye to eye on helping to really establish that empathetic relationship with your targets, your prospects and clients. So very cool.
I don't know of any other way to work, right? I'm so invested in the success of my clients, and we become friends. We become known to each other. And I don't know of any other way to be able to give them such high quality service without becoming completely immersed in their own lives.
So I love asking this question, Stephanie, of all the guests on the show, and someone who's had this love of working with entrepreneurships. Obviously, you get to see a lot of ups and downs, and probably in your own life as well. So the question I love to ask the guests, when you have trouble thriving, who or what practice do you seek to get yourself back on the thriving track?
I reach out to my communities and I just start talking, right? I have become fearless in terms of putting my challenges on the table. And the sooner I can start talking about them and the sooner I can work through them, the sooner I can get reinvigorated to shift that energy, right? And if you're interested in a book, there's a book called Energy Leadership, and it is fascinating, and it is so true of what we bring to the world and what the rest of the world brings to us. So when you understand the sort of 7 levels of energy, you can look at yourself and see my patterns and my behavior right now are at this energy level. Where can I go to shift that? And so I go to my community and I go to my peers and I just start talking and blabbing, and they're probably sick of me by now, but eventually a shift occurs and I get some new perspective, and then I turn that around and get to that next level.
Okay. So now I want to ask a question that for the Thrive Loud listeners who've been listening in for the last 20 or so minutes here, the Stephanie Hayes seems to be very mellow, even, calm, cool, collected, and very smart and well put together and focused. Yet, as I mentioned in the opening, she's an adrenaline junkie, loves to fly planes, does kiteboarding, mountain biking, and the question at my hand, you play roller derby. You're a roller derby player. I need to understand from my own education the background of how that all happens.
Oh, you know what? So the funny thing is I'm 43, right? And I have no business participating in most of these sports, but I live in a town that is outdoor enthusiasts galore. It's like the recreational capital of the world. And so you're exposed to all this stuff. And I find that the energy from the high adrenaline sports is just kind of what I need to balance out the very calm, very straightforward work that I do. But roller derby was something that, I mean, we got a team 8 or 10 years ago here in the corridor. And back then I really wanted to join. It was just like something new and something unique and, all women focused. But I had just had my first, maybe second baby. And I was traveling a lot for work and in the corporate world, and it just didn't work out. And over the next sort of 6 years, I had 3 different members of the team get to know me and say, you need to come out and you need to play. And so finally I did 3 years ago and started playing, but it's hysterical because I had just broken my tailbone kiteboarding a couple of months before. And I didn't actually know it was broken. I just knew it was really sore. And I'm not very good at going to get myself checked. But I did, and it was broken. But then I'm like, well, roller derby starts, their intake program starts in a few weeks. So I better go do that. Well, I'm not a skater. I don't know how to skate. I didn't know how to skate back then. And when you learn how to skate on roller skates, you do a lot of falling on your butt, right? So I'm pretty sure I broke my tailbone like 3 or 4 more times after that. But it's such an interesting sport. It's the fastest growing women's indoor sport in the world. And there are, once you know about it, you realize there's a huge network of every city has a team, and there are like world championships and what have you. But it's an interesting community. It's so accepting. And you go in and you have these, it's like a legal gang fight, right? You go in, you have, you play against a team and you're beating each other up. And then at the end, you'll go have beer together. So it's this really lovely community of women. And it's like the island of misfit toys. Right?
I love it. And by the way, do they do it inline skates or is it roller skates? What do they do these days?
Oh, these are quads.
These are quads. I was going to say.
Real deal. These are the original gangster roller skates.
and to the other sports is interesting because I used to be a cyclist. I was more of a road rider than mountain biking, but I totally get the thrill of that. And I have some friends who, when kiteboarding first came out, were very into it. In fact, they invested in a kiteboarding school down in North Carolina that they still have a stake in. And what an amazing sport! Yeah. And really physically hard on your upper body and everything.
It is the hardest sport I've ever learned. It was such an ego. Such an ego hit. And it literally, I started 3 years ago, and it literally took me till this summer to be up and riding reliably. Maybe I'm just a slow learner, but it's one of those sports where you also have to make sure that you're really solid before you go out, because those kites are so full of power. You can actually hurt somebody quite badly with them. So it's challenging for sure. But now I've crossed the threshold this year, and I can't wait to get out. We have quite a popular kiteboarding location here, and it's very, very
and where
busy.
Is here, just so the listeners know where you are?
I'm up in Squamish, right near Whistler.
Up in Western Canada, all the way near north of Vancouver. Very cool.
That's right.
So you also are learning to fly a plane. A quick share with the listeners. You're getting lessons, and you're going to be a professional pilot.
No, I'm not going to be a professional pilot. I started flying because I had been traveling a lot for work, and I had developed a fear of flying. And I would get on a helicopter to go across to the island, and I was, every week. And it got to the point where I would almost faint from stress and anxiety getting on the planes. And I just thought something has to change. So there's a little flying school up here, and we're right in the mountains, and we're right on the ocean, and it's a very challenging location to fly into and fly out of. But I'm like, I'm just going to try it. So totally annihilated my fear of flying and learned how to, spin my plane, and you learn how much these little planes can take. So it absolutely helped, but it also became this almost a form of meditation for me. When I get up into the plane, it's just, it's not that it's stressful or there's anxiety. It's just that you're so focused, and it's so beautiful, and it's such an amazing experience that everything else I'll go up there and fly for 2 hours, and then I'll come down, and I'll totally have realized I haven't thought about anything else going on in my life. And it's fantastic.
It almost sounds like, just by the way, whereas your ability to get yourself back on the thriving track wasn't just about, talking to your mastermind groups and all your contacts, but it sounds like that plane might be a factor in there too, no?
Yeah, you're right. I fly these little Cessna 172s, and I can sit in the pilot seat, but I can't sit in the back. But it's a thrill for sure, but it's not scary. It's just
it's freeing
intense.
too, I think, is the key piece.
It is. It's freeing.
This has been educational. Stephanie Hayes, you are one well-rounded individual. I love it. From roller derby to up in the sky to kiteboarding and mountain biking, and obviously being this incredible custom design strategist. I love all the things that you're all about. Stephanie, for the Thrive Loud community, share where they can find you. This is a chance for you to give all the plugs, social media, websites, every place, so they can hear about this amazing individual and where to find you.
Oh, thank you. I have a special gift for your listeners. If your listeners would like to sign up for a strategy call, they can find me at StephanieHayes, HAYES.biz/ I think I did thrive-loud.
Okay. We'll put it in the show notes.
And I'm on Instagram thank you. I'm at Instagram at Stephanie Hayes Business Coach. And you can find me on Facebook and on my website at stephaniehayes.biz.
This has been spectacular. And I am dying to know where this goes. And our final question here for our lovely conversation, Stephanie, what is your all-time favorite movie?
Oh, my all-time favorite. You can't answer that.
Yes, you can.
I'm going to say The Usual Suspects.
Okay. And what is it about that movie that connects so much with you?
Well, the whole story is great, and the cast is great, but just at the very end, all of a sudden it just takes this total 180, and you're just sitting there going, what just happened? And it's brilliant. Everything kind of comes together in the last sort of 10 minutes. And and it's so well acted, and the story's fantastic. Everything's really, really great about it. And it's, I just love the surprise at the end.
It's powerful, which I think it's probably been quoted 5 or 6 times out of the 200 some odd interviews we've had at Thrive.
No, really? Oh, I should have chosen something more interesting.
But it's what matters to you and what's really, really interesting. And yes, it is an unfair question, so to speak, but there is some movie that everybody has a connection to, that something always gets them, that they can sit and say, I got to watch that. I got to see it, no matter what part, if it's on TV or on some movie network, or just happens to be around. That's the important thing, that movies connect us, and hearing what connects you to others is really cool. So, Stephanie Hayes, this has been awesome. You are the Swiss Canadian powerhouse that everybody had told me about.
I don't know how many of those there are. Thank you so much. It's been great.
It's been totally great. And to all our Thrive Loud listeners out there, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.